Good morning. Actually, that was a ridiculous start. Let's go again because it's not morning. Good afternoon. Gorgeous day. Gorgeous day. We're not really up here to do anything apart from let the girlies have a bit of a run around in the sunshine. We've got about an hour left of sun on the plot because we were out this morning. But I thought I'd just have a bit of a think about what we're going to do this week. Obviously, the potting bench and the cold frame are now set to go because the chicken house is finished. So I'm going to start on those as the two major projects. But I didn't end up clearing the entirety of those chilies out last week. I mean, they're cut down, but I haven't decided which ones we're going to keep. I know. But I haven't decided which ones we're going to keep. And also, once we've done that, I then need to empty the quad grows and prep them for storage over winter. And not just the quad grows, but all the other pots and things that we've got in there need to be just cleared and washed and stored away, ready for next year. But this little section in the middle here is something we were discussing the other day. So we were up here earlier in the week and looking at the carrot bed, which has been a complete fail this year. I tell you what, I'll go up and talk about it and then explain the failures. Sorry, this has become a bit of a dumping ground temporarily, but this is the box that we grow the carrots under. So underneath here is one of these, and it's filled with really finely sieved compost and sand, which is perfect for carrots. But above us we have a cherry tree, and obviously it's quite sheltered from everywhere, but this year it got so dry in there because obviously sandy, wispy soil like that that's been really well sieved just lost all of its moisture and we could not keep it watered. So in here there are actually some carrots that we haven't even bothered looking at because they didn't even really get any top growth, so I'm doubting there's much below ground. But this like growing them in the box and under this works really, really well. This keeps the carrot root fly off them. And in other years, when it hasn't been an absolute burning inferno with no rain, they've grown really brilliantly. But we're going to get more and more unpredictable weather. And actually this spot could be more useful for something else. So what we're going to do, we think, is move this down here. Because we've actually got I don't know if wasted space is quite the right word for it, but we've got underutilised is probably better. This area here, we have a small Cox's Orange Pippin apple there, which produces beautiful apples, only about 3 a year, but they're so delicious, it's worth keeping. And in this patch here, previous years, we've had a lot of wildflowers in here. Well, wildflowers is not the right term really, they are self-seeded flowers, so it's a lot of Lychnis, a lot of Nigella, mainly those two, Californian poppies as well in here. But so much grass blows in that when it's like this time of year and the germinating is happening, and early spring when germinating is happening, it's so difficult to get the grass out without disturbing everything. So it's not working very well. And we've got this huge patch of nerines in the middle. But what we think we're going to do is, keeping in line with the polytunnel edge, we're going to put a path in, just not path, but you know, like slabs like this here. Put a path in going that way to cut this front section off to the back section. And we were going to turn this front bit into a extension of the herb garden. So along here we've got oregano, sage, garlic chives and chives, rosemary and thyme along outside the front of the polytunnel, which does need a bit of renovation, but we were going to continuing it along there. Having looked at it, we don't actually need much more than that. We've got various other bits and pieces dotted around the allotment. We've got the winter savoury, we've got the bay leaf, we've got all the bits and pieces around rather than just having them in one spot. So that gives us this piece of ground. Now you get really good sunshine here, and I think we're going to put the carrot box somewhere along here and then make another bed. So we'll have a little bit more growing space for next year, and then behind it we'll keep all the self-seeded wildflowers. That's the plan anyway. I've got quite a lot of work to do on this fence, but yeah, that is another project that we want to get done before spring. They are racking up. Good morning. Apologies for break-in service. We went home and Mum got the most atrocious cold. My dad's got a cold. Everybody's been sick. And now it's like 5 days later. I have been coming up to see the girlies, but that's about it. They've had sort of a 20-minute run around every day, and that's it. That's all we've been doing. So things came to a little bit of a standstill. Missed the good weather, but we're back up here now. Mum is currently sorting out the shed because one of the evenings that I was up here, Lily obviously climbed into the shed. She doesn't normally go in the shed. She's normally really cautious about going in places, and it's probably happened before. But when luckily, the next day I was coming back in the morning, so it's the only time I had. So I came back in the morning, opened the door, and who came racing out but Lily? So she had been in there all night and completely wrecked the joint, basically. Obviously trying to get out. I mean, she wasn't in there for an enormously long amount of time, but it's made me now very, very aware to check that she's not in there at the end of the day. It's funny because she never normally goes in the shed. She's really nervous about it. So it's obviously happened before in other sheds. But luckily, because we're here every day, it wasn't that big a drama. But imagine if she got locked in someone else's shed. Not so great, really. Anyway, so Mum, between coughing and blowing her nose, is currently tidying up Lily's mess. And I'm going to go and prune the grapevine. That is not... Oh, I haven't even opened the door yet. We wrote this list, obviously, at the beginning of the week before the plague hit. What did we even have on it? Finish the chilies, yeah, haven't done that. Clear quad grows, haven't done that. Move the nerines, certainly haven't done that. Investigate carrots, nope. No, I haven't done any of that. None of it at all. And the thing that's on my list today isn't even on that list. So, Yeah, but I feel like pruning the grape. I just fancy it, so that's what I'm going to go do. So last year was really successful on the grape front, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing again, which was keeping this main structure, which is the piece we've got going across here, and then cutting this year's growth back down. So last year I left it, I think, 1 or 2 good looking buds under there. I'm going to go one further up this year, so I'm keeping, you know, 1 extra bud on the new growth from last year. So it should be a little, tiny little bit less brutal than last year's pruning. Yeah, I think that looks about right. You can see where I pruned last year. So this is the main structure, and then that was last year's prune. And so now this is this year's growth, and I'll probably go to here or maybe under there, depending on how that bud looks. So that'll be, this is a one that didn't sprout from last year. So that's essentially what I think it's going to look like when I finished. But I am most definitely not a grape expert, so I'm just, you know, going by the book. But it worked last year, so I'm pretty happy, pretty confident that it's going to be fine. Okay, that is the grape pretty much cut, except I've managed to pull the roof off the blooming fruit cage, so I'm going to have to sort that out before I tie the grape in. Okay, I have the roof back on and the walls are standing, which is, you know, a bonus. I'm going to just move this branch up slightly higher. When I first placed this, there was actually two coming out of here. This one came round that way, but it died off. So this one just wants to go not enormously much higher, but just, you know, like a little bit. Like that, I think. That'll do us. Unfortunately, it's white string, which is not the best looking, but I bought some green string the other day, which I thought would be nice, and it was absolutely rubbish. The moment you tied anything, it just broke. It didn't even do the thing where you leave it for like 6 months outside and then it starts breaking. No, immediately. Couldn't even tie it up. Bloody useless. Okay, let's get this one in there, like that, I think. That'll do, just a little bit higher. Head height, so you can enjoy all the grapes at maximum eye line. Right, so something else I should be doing in here really is sorting out the gooseberries, but to be honest with you, I just don't think I've got it in me. They really are so incredibly spiny that you have to be feeling pretty gung-ho and robust to do it, and I don't feel gung-ho or robust today. So I think I'm just going to leave it. Oh, yeah, I'm already spiked. Already didn't like it. I'm not doing that. However, one of the things that was on that list on the door that I completely forgot about was looking at what's going on in that carrot bed that you can actually just see behind me there. I suspect what's going on in that carrot bed is absolutely zilch, but we won't know until we have a look. So let's go and investigate. To be honest with you, I know I did a lot of talking on that first really optimistic afternoon that we were here. Or was it morning? I can't even remember when it was. I haven't looked back at the footage, so I don't know what I said and what I didn't say. It was a long time ago, feels like another lifetime. But I know I said something about we were moving these carrots. Or not moving the carrots themselves. I don't think there's carrots to move. But we're going to be moving this box to down next to the polytunnel. So, I mean, well, there's tops of carrots in there. I mean, they're very small, but you can see orange. I mean, look at the size of that. Look at my whopping carrot, folks. That is a specimen, if ever there was one. Yeah, I do seriously think the rest of them are going to be like this. This was a real fail this year. And actually, because none of us really feel like being outside at the moment, I think probably the second half of this video is going to be me talking through what I'm doing in terms of planning for next year. I am trying, like my aim for next year is to get the successional growing back again. I had a couple of really successful years with successional sowing. This year it was a complete fail because we had something else that we were focusing on for the first half of the year, and a lot of the successional sowing really is that first half. So I've been trying to draw out a sowing plan, a paper one, you know, like onto paper, working out varieties and which varieties, because some varieties of things need to be sown earlier than other varieties, even though they're both a parsnip or something, you know. Bad example of that, Jessie, because you don't tend to successional sow parsnips, do you? No, you don't. Anyway, I'm going to investigate these carrots and we'll see if there is anything worth showing bigger than this. Oh, 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 something. Oh, look at that. It's a carrot. Actually, these are really not terrible. I might actually have to go and get something to put them in. So I did 2 sowings in here. One major one, no, not one major one, that's the wrong way, but I did 2 sowings really early. And then I did some infill, which this is the infill. And that was months and months and months. I mean, when was that? Must have been June. That's all they've got. But the initial sowing, which was really early, before we had the terrible heat of summer, they actually seem to have got something going in the ground. Look, it's orange. But yeah, the second sowing, absolutely nothing. And realistically, like, these are the size of baby carrots, obviously, like ones that you sow and you pick really early. These have not been picked early. These have been in the ground practically the whole year. So not a great success, but there is something here and they will roast really nicely. So I'm not too distressed. I mean, distressed is a bit exaggeration, isn't it? It's not like I would be distressed about my carrots, but yeah, there's something under there. So, ooh. It's not the worst we've had, I can tell you that much. Nothing along this side. There's something. Ooh, carrots there. That is actually more than a mouthful. Fab. Very pleased with that. There's an awful lot of weeds in here though. Is that a carrot? That looks like a carrot. Yeah. There's a couple in there. Once I've got this initial pull out, I will just go over it with a little, like a trowel, because they've been in there so long, a lot of the top growth has died off, and so I can't really identify where there's carrots. It's not like pulling, you know, a really beautiful, big, healthy carrot with a nice bit of top growth. No, it is not. It's like pulling tinies. Hi, Lil. Stay out of that shed, hey, madam. Stay out of that shed. What is all this stuff here? Nothing. That's nothing. None of that is anything. Oh, carrot. Woo. Carrot. Right, I'm going to get a little trowel and just dig over this because I can see little bits of orange poking up, you see, but there's no tops. So let's go and get a trowel. Believe it or not, that is not the worst carrot harvest we've ever had. I mean, there's some edible carrots in there, you know? Okay, so we won't be peeling them. But, I mean, that's full. It's not exactly a bucket, is it? But there's some actual carrots under there. I am not unhappy with that. Gives us something to build on for next year. And these were not Touchon. So you know my favourite carrot variety is Touchon. And to be fair, for years and years and years, we mainly had, oh, it's very windy, chaps. It's actually not that pleasant up here today. It's not raining, but the air is so saturated with moisture that it feels like it's just like a rain rather than raining. I am in the rain cloud. We used to have a lot of harvests like this every year. This was kind of like peak carrot for us for a while until I discovered Touchon. And we started growing that, and we had the best carrots we've ever had. Like, they were carrots that looked like carrots, real peelable, chop-upable carrots. And then I got cocky. You know, when you start having success with something and you think, oh no, it's not the variety, it's the grower. It's not the grower, it was the variety. So I'm going to go back to Touchon this year, and we're going to try and sow 3 lots. I'll talk you through my plan later when I get home. But yeah, she rambles, but she's happy. Oh, I just do my, I'm going to go and tell Mum about them, because she was 100% convinced there was nothing under there. Have a little look at these, Mum. They are not bad. I mean, there's a couple that size. We're not going to be peeling them. No. But as whole roasted, I am actually, like, the first one I pulled out was smaller than that, and I was like, oh, here we go. But actually, some of them are okay. Oh, good. Yeah, not a complete fail. Well, at least I can tick. No, it's chalk, girlies. It's not for you. What was it? Investigate carrots. Success. Oh, it's horrible. That's probably for another day. Sort of done, you know. Actually, I did have quite a lot of comments last week about the fact that different chilies have different outcomes in terms of overwintering, and I had actually started recording a bit about that for last week, but I couldn't remember what category the cayennes fell into, and it all kind of turned into a bit of a shambles, so I cut it all out. But it is a fair point. I'll tell you about it at home, actually. I will tell you about it at home, but there is differences, and some are worth having a go with. Having said that, even the ones like the habaneros that I have tried to overwinter and I have actually had a small amount of success with, I still think what I was saying rings true. Like, I haven't had the best success with the second year, even for the varieties that do generally much better. But I did get some comments of people who've had great success with their second years, and talking to other people, which is something I didn't know, apparently 3 years is the peak. So they're not long-lived perennials. They sort of do about 3 years and then they go into decline. I've got to remember whose comment it was. I can't remember their name. I will look this up. But they were saying that they've actually been keeping a chili plant going for quite a long time, and what's happened with that is that the chilies themselves, the fruit, it's still going, the fruit are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until, like, they're kind of like bantam versions of the chili. So yeah, interesting, but I'll find that comment and look at what variety they were actually using, because I've got no brain cells. That's done. Not going to do that. Not going to do that. Am I going to move the am I going to move the nerines today? Absolutely not. I might go and have a look in the polytunnel though, actually, because it probably needs a water. It hasn't been even opened for about a week, so might need a bit of a drink in there. And it'll be warmer. Oh my goodness. The sunshine. Black clouds like you can't believe in that direction, but there is sunshine. Right, let's have a bit of a nose in here. Okay, so the last little bits of basil are well and truly gone, so I'll take that out. But the pak choi is looking really nice. Coriander's good. Spring onions are still going. Spinach. Oh, the Lucullus chard has grown so much. They were like almost indistinguishable from weeds. They were so tiny when I last looked in here. They've come on brilliantly. The other chard we've got up there, which is a mix of peppermint and four-took giant, I think. They look pretty much the same as they did, but they're still going strong. Coriander's all recovered. I chopped all of this off last time I opened up and it's all back again, so that's cool. Mustard greens are okay. Mizuna's good, more coriander. Yeah, it looks all right. What temperature did it get down to? Ooh, it has been down to minus 2.3 in here though. That is quite chilly. Quite chilly. Okay. I don't think it needs a water though. Everything looks pretty damp. So I guess I'll just lock it up and leave it be. I'm gonna do some risotto for lunch just because like it's super comfort, you know. It's got like that old porridge feeling to it, but I'm gonna get some field bean tops to stick in the top of that. And I think we might actually just be done here, chaps. Might be done. Mum is cracking on. Do you think you might be ready to head off soon? Yeah. Yeah, this is the first time she's been out of the house in like three days. It's been, yeah, it's been a long old slog. Yeah, well, I'll close this up, seems that's all right, and then pick some field beans, and then I think we'll head off. Yeah. It's not much of a cheers, chaps, it's a lemsip. Rock and roll, hey? Yeah, this isn't a particularly long video because I just want to go to bed, actually. It's stupid. I mean, it's not norovirus or something. I've heard from a couple of friends recently that norovirus has hit their house and, oh God, just awful. No, it's just a cold, but it's like when everybody in the house has got a cold and you're all just feeling a bit pants and like you've been punched in the face. Every time I get a cold, it goes right into the sinuses, you know, so your teeth ache and you've got like a big fat face is what we've got, chaps. But we did get a couple of days in at the allotment at least, and it's actually quite useful because the girls have to be looked after. You do have to go up there every day, so you don't just hibernate, which is, you know, a bonus really, because otherwise it would be very tempting just to get into bed and not get out of it. But so you've got to get up to make the lemsips though, haven't you? You have. A couple of things that I was going to chat about this afternoon, like doing the cheers. Firstly was my planning for next year on the seed front. I haven't got as far along in that as I was hoping, in terms of like being able to present what I'm doing, but this is the sort of format that I'm currently putting it together as. And once I've got it sorted in my head, it's a case of calendar and month in quarterlies to go through what needs to be sown in each month, rough kind of timings of when I want to sow it. And I'm also making a note of important dates in there, because although this is also a sewing calendar, it will also be my like YouTube calendar, because it makes sure that I know what I've got to film at least for the coming month, if you sort of see what I mean. So it's useful to have a calendar in there as well. And I'm going to digitize that, particularly the seed varieties and when I'm sowing them, once I've got that done. So it will actually be available on probably the website, or I'll just put it as a link at the bottom of the video. But at the moment, it's not really there, and I haven't put the extra hours into it that I really needed to make it worthwhile. So I'm afraid, chaps, that one isn't coming this afternoon. It's not. I did want to clarify on the chili front though, because I got tons of comments about it last week, and I knew it was risky cutting it out, but I didn't re-record it, so that's where we are. Basically, as far as I understand it, there are three main types of capsicum that we grow, which are Chinensis, pubescens and annum. And depending on which one your plant is, it does affect how likely it is to be a successful overwinterer. For example, annum, unsurprisingly from the name, do the least well. And that whole category, I mean, obviously each one of them is huge, but as a general band, annum tends to be bell peppers, or it is bell peppers, you know, sweet peppers, and cayenne peppers, jalapenos, that kind of bracket. They do the least well overwintering. And then there is pubescens and Chinensis. Now, Chinensis is the ones that I grow mainly. They are like the ají, so my lemon drop falls into that category, and the habaneros. That category also includes some of the really super hot ones. So the ghost pepper, which is the boot jalokia, you know, I've tried that one a couple of years and actually not got a decent fruit from them yet. So they're probably going to be on my list again for next year, to be honest. And the Carolina Reaper and that kind of bracket. They do overwinter decently, but they don't necessarily produce like what I was saying when I've overwintered. The two that I've overwintered successfully was a lemon drop and an orange habanero. I did overwinter a jalapeno, which I did get some peppers from, but it was really a bit of a poor specimen. But the lemon drop and the orange habanero did okay. They just didn't produce as many as a one that's been sown that current year. The third one is the one that by all accounts does really, really well being treated like a perennial, and can be overwintered repeatedly. It's called pubescens, I believe, do correct me if I'm wrong, because the leaves are hairy. I believe that's what it was. They could just like going back into my memory here, I think that's what it was. So you can tell the difference in the plants quite clearly because their leaves are quite different. But they tend to be, I think they're called rocoto or locoto, I think. It's been quite a long time since I've ever grown one from the pubescens category. Generally, I am a Chinensis kind of bird in the middle there. But I have a couple of years, but that was before me knowing that they were particularly good for overwintering, so I didn't overwinter them, unfortunately. But yeah, so that sort of cleared up a little bit. I did try to talk about that in the greenhouse that time, but the cayennes was the one that was messing me up. I couldn't remember whether they were the annum or the, I can't even think, the annum or the tenensis one. So it was all, I got rid, but now I've clarified. And I looked it up. The guy who was saying, who commented on the video last week about the fact that in year 4 of his chili overwintering, that's when he noticed that the fruit size had diminished, was a chap called Bowtie Life. Right. Chaps, I think that's me done. Hopefully next week we're just going to be feeling a bit better, a bit more enthusiastic. This was very much one of those weeks that if it wasn't for making a video and looking after the chickens, we probably wouldn't have gone to the allotment. It's like nothing was that pressing that it needed doing. But obviously going up to do the girlies does actually get you out of the house when you don't feel like it. So that is positive, really. That is positive. You've got to go up there every day, no matter how pants you're feeling. So yeah, the girlies were priority over staying in bed. Right. I'm going to wrap this up with a lemon sip flavoured cheers, chaps. Cheers. I will see you next week. Big cheers to my patrons, as always. Those absolutely unbelievable people who sponsor this channel. But yeah, right. Cheers, chaps. I'm going. Cheers. See you next week. Got all the gritty bit at the end. Big cheers to my patrons, as always. Those absolutely unbelievable people who sponsor this channel and keep it going. Who drive me with a whip up to the allotment when I'm feeling rubbish. No, you don't do that. You don't do that.